Welcome back to the Real Power Podcast. Another amazing guest on the show today, Taylor Isselhard. Taylor is the owner of TPI Photography, a wedding photography company based here in Rochester, New York. He's also an educator and a coach, helping other photographers grow their own businesses to six figures and beyond. Taylor came highly recommended by another guest I had on the show, Luke Thomas, I believe. Yeah, Luke's the freaking man, dude. He's like, you got to have Taylor on the show. So I reached out to him on Instagram and immediately he's like, would love to come on, man. And here we are today. Very excited because he is in the same space as me, photography. I'm in real estate photography. He's in wedding photography. Photography in general can be such a great niche to entrepreneurs, maybe creative entrepreneurs who are looking to build something for themselves. And wedding photography specifically can be very lucrative, very fun. I'm sure you're very passionate about it. And I think there will be a ton of value in the show for people who want to kind of go down the same route. So without further ado, Taylor, thank you for being here, man.
Yeah, dude, it's an honor. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Take us back to the beginning, like the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey. How'd you even get started down the route of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, it's an interesting story, and I think it really comes full circle. So as a kid, you had your parents or somebody always was taking pictures of you growing up, right? And, as a kid, it's one of those things where you're just sitting there, you're like, oh, another picture. And what's wild is I never really thought that I'd ever get into this type of career or this industry because I went the normal route, college route, went to school for business, did that for a little bit of time, got my master's of business, went back to school for teaching, became a teacher for a couple of years. And, what's wild is none of those things really hit home.
Yeah.
And I was slowly actually building my business over the last 7 years. And I just did it for fun. Taking some pictures,
right on the side,
some extra cash, all those little fun side hustles. And in college, I did a little bit, dabbled into a little bit too. But what's wild is I always saw value in what my mom was doing as a kid, taking pictures of us, capturing those moments, taking a moment to do that. What was really cool is as adults now, we go home to my mom, see her sometimes. And what's cool is she lives local. But sometimes I'm like, can we just open up those bins? And we will go through those pictures together, my siblings and I and my mom. And what's wild is that she captured those little pieces of our story. And I always thought that was so cool.
It is cool.
And yeah, because anybody that has that type of connection that I just shared knows how valuable that is. And I always felt a connection to that. So what's wild is how it's come full circle to the fact that now I'm doing that for other people. And not as just somebody who's like a part of their everyday life, because that'd be kind of weird.
Just showing up at their house for a random Tuesday night dinner.
Like, hey, fam, here. But I get to be a part of these monumental, important pieces of their story. And so when I saw that I was able to capture my first family, and I saw the reaction they had when I provided them their final gallery, it just hit home. It's like I finally felt that sense of fulfillment with something that I was so passionate about that I never thought I would really be able to do as a career. But because, there's the inconsistency of income when it comes to being an entrepreneur. And in the wedding industry, you never really know and can really anticipate when you're going to get bookings and when you're going to get inquiries and if you're able to actually fully deliver on that and get the final check, right? So that was what was intimidating to me at first. Was I'm not going to do this full time because there's no way that I can have a consistent income and support my family.
Just not reliable, yeah.
Yeah. So, you're so used to that biweekly paycheck, that security. But what eventually made sense to me was there is no job that is guaranteed. No 9-to-5 job that is guaranteed. So why am I not pursuing something that also, in a sense, couldn't be guaranteed, but I have control over? So it was last October that I officially went full time into this business. And
congrats on that, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a journey, and I'm just so grateful that my wife is on board. She's been so supportive, and she thankfully has the job that has health insurance.
Same here.
Yeah, right.
Same with my wife. Yep.
You're like, yep. Thank goodness for our wives, right? And she is so incredible at her job and in her career, and it's amazing that what she's able to do with that. But what's amazing is she's been so supportive of me to be able to pursue something that I knew was going to be good for our family. So yeah, so being able to do this full time has been such a gift, and my kids are loving it too because they see me more, and because as a teacher it was challenging.
I bet. Yeah.
So shout out to all your teachers.
It's a hard job.
It is
Underpaid job too.
Yes, absolutely.
Sure.
So, but yeah, my journey into being a wedding photographer, it's a little bit more untraditional compared to most. A lot of people just dive right in, going into it, and maybe work another part-time job or so. But I was building my business over time, and I'm grateful that I had my background in business in general with my master's and having experience in different types of fields. So I was able to incorporate that into being able to build a successful 6-figure business.
Yeah, that's a great segue into one of the questions I had. Like, how important is it? Because photography itself is like the art, right? But in order to grow a photography business in any type of photography, you got to know what you're doing on the business side too. So talk a little bit about like the importance in what you should know if you're venturing off into becoming a photographer full time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the interesting part is that when you ask so many other photographers, what did they do before becoming a photographer? Very little of them had any type of experience in business. So I was lucky enough to have an advantage over them. But what I would encourage them to do, because a lot of them are creatives, they love the creative side of it. They have that artistic ability. So the business side of it is really challenging to them. So what I would encourage them to do, first of all, is to find an accountant, someone that's going to help them set up their LLC.
Yep.
Find somebody that can maybe coach them in their bookkeeping, and also reach out to other photographers who are well-versed in the industry and ask them, what did you do? What are some tips in the marketing? What are some tips in these different business areas? Like networking is one of the most important things that you can do.
Yep.
And I think that is such an underrated asset to growing a successful business, because there are so many little pieces of advice you can get from so many individuals, a part of your network, that can be a huge asset to the growth and development of your business. And so my biggest tip for anybody that is trying to understand the business side of photography is to grow a network with other people, but also build enough revenue in your own business to hire a coach.
Yes.
Because coaching and mentorship should never stop. It doesn't matter how high you scale yourself. Some of the best industry leaders or entrepreneurs in general have a coach.
They all have mentors and coaches.
Yeah, like even Gary Vee. I mean, I know he still seeks people for advice and to help him grow his business. He's a freaking GOAT.
Yeah, he is. LeBron James has a coach. Like everyone, the greatest of all time.
Yeah. So you can't be intimidated by somebody else telling you what you should do for your business, because I think that's usually a roadblock for people. They're nervous about how they're going to be perceived, and they're nervous that they're going to be wrong. They're nervous that they're going to not be able to do it. But one of the best investments you can make is hiring a coach. And that was one of the first investments I made going full time, is I hired a business coach. And what's wild is you have to put yourself in the right mindset with that too, right? So for me, when I was hiring a business coach for the program that I invested in, I'm like, if I book one wedding from this program,
It pays for it.
the return's already there. Just one. Yep. Some people are like, oh, that's a lot of money up front. I'm like, yeah, but but if you are able to know that if you put in the work that this person is teaching you and coaching you on, it's going to be the quickest return and more.
Yep. And then you have that going forward for the rest of your life, those skills and that knowledge.
Yeah. It doesn't go away.
No.
Doesn't get
unless you're dumb.
Right. Just throw it all away. Yeah, exactly. So I think that it's so important to continuously invest in education.
Love it, man. So how did you get your very first wedding client? Where did that lead, that client come from?
Yeah, good question. So in the beginning, I was doing just like some family pictures, some newborns, a couple seniors, here and there, very little. And one of my friends from high school was getting married, and his sister actually told him about me. And he knew he was on a budget. Anybody that's on a budget for a wedding, they're looking for somebody that's trying to get into it or maybe interested in it. And so he reached out to me and was like, hey, I love to give you the opportunity to be the wedding photographer for our wedding. We're on like this type of budget. This is how much we can pay you. And at first I was hesitant because I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. But, you know, what was amazing is what I think really got me that wedding was my character, because he knew me and he knew that I was someone that could take care of him. Not because I had the skills, but because he knew I would do everything to make sure that with my skill level at that point, I would do my best that I could for him.
The service. Yep.
So he gave me the chance. And honestly, ever since that point, I posted some of the pictures, and random times people would reach out to me. Hey, I saw you did so-and-so's wedding, or I saw these pictures and somebody told me about you. And from there, it just continued to grow over time.
That's all it takes is that one first client, like however you get it. And you might suck, and you probably will suck in the beginning, right? I mean,
dude, you look back at that wedding, I'm like, oh, man.
You're probably like embarrassed.
Couple was great. Wedding was great.
Yeah.
My pictures, they were bad.
Yeah.
But they loved them, you know,
Yeah.
from my perspective now. But yeah.
Well, and the point about they liked it because they liked you.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't so much about the photos. It was about, like you said, your character, the type of person you are, that they trusted you, that they knew that you had their best interest at mind. And like, that's so important in any business that you're in, right? Like the relationship that you have with your client versus the actual stuff you're doing for them. I think it's overlooked so much, and it couldn't be more important, like building that relationship with people.
100%. Yep. It's because in the wedding industry, word of mouth is one of the most powerful referrals sources that you can have.
Yep.
You know, you can rank high in Google. That's great. You know, people can see your reviews. But the relational piece of the referral is going to give you a much higher chance of booking somebody over a Google search.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, word of mouth is unbelievably powerful. Like everybody talks to everybody, and all it takes is to get those first couple clients, and it starts to spread like wildfire. And I'm sure you can attest to that.
100%. And it all comes down to the experience that you provide them, and not just for the couple itself, but for everybody else involved. So I tell those who I coach when they're in the beginning stages of their photography journey is you're not just serving the couple, you're serving their family, you're serving their guests.
Yep.
So when you are approaching a wedding day, you have to have that mindset going in that when you are interacting and you are talking with anybody that's involved, you're treating them the same that you would their couple. And even a little example of something I love to do at the end of the night before I leave, I say goodbye to my couple, but I also say goodbye to the parents and thank them and congratulate them. Yeah. Those lasting little cherry on tops can make a huge difference because they are going to remember that.
Yes.
You know, I think it's so important not to do an Irish goodbye, you know, at any point of the wedding, but especially at the end, it's that lasting piece that you can just make a huge difference in how they're going to remember you. Yeah. And I've had times where people leave reviews for me that aren't even in the couple. I've had like bridesmaids leave reviews for me. Yeah. Like I didn't even shoot their wedding. And they just leave a review on Google for me because of the experience they had with me.
Amazing. Yeah. And that's the differentiator right there. And it reminds me of the quote, like, people might not always remember what you do, but they'll remember how you made them feel. Yeah. And that is 100% true.
Dude, it's so good. Yeah. And people don't think about that at all. Yeah. And my wife always says, I know it's a little bit different, but she's like, people are going to remember more about you for being cheap than being gracious and giving. You know, because it's those little pieces that make a huge difference in how they're going to remember you.
Yeah. If you know, how many weddings to date have you shot so far?
Yeah, I just uploaded my my weddings I just did recently to my spreadsheet that I have to
keep track. What do we got? What's the grand total?
I'm at about 118.
Nice, dude.
Yeah. So I hit my 100th wedding. Literally, it was my last one of 2023, and so but since then it's been a blast.
It's amazing, dude. Yeah. That is incredible. That's a lot of weddings right there. If you're open to it, because I know a lot of aspiring maybe wedding photographers would be very interested to know like what the income potential is as a wedding photographer. So whatever you're comfortable sharing, numbers in 2023, like what did that look like for you?
Yeah. So I would say my revenue for 2023 was probably about, I would say 50,000.
Okay.
You know, And then, you always get hit with those taxes and everything. They're so great.
Yep.
But what's amazing is as soon as I went full time, was able to dive in, go all in, I'm projected to hit about 200K by the end of this year.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's when you're able to go all in and you dive all in, you have endless potential, which is the coolest thing. There is no cap on what you can make. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want to encourage people is that if you're able to figure out the systems that work well for what you want to create out of your business, you have endless potential.
Yeah.
Not just for your business self, but how much you can make.
It is so true. And like, you don't realize how much that extra time you're giving yourself when you go full time unlocks, just like you're going to quadruple your revenue because you decided to make the jump and go for it.
One of the things you want to do for yourself and for your business is you want to build doors instead of walls.
Okay, explain that.
So what I mean by that is if you're continuously not picking up the hammer to build the door, your wall is being built itself. So if you're not educating yourself, you're not investing in your business, you're not investing in yourself, that wall is going to continue to grow. And what's going to be hard is when you are ready to dive in full time, that wall is going to be harder to break down.
Yep.
Because you're taking all this time not investing into the choices that you need to make. But if you're diving all in, you're building doors. And what's great about that is you're going to build more and more doors, which is going to open more and more opportunities for you as you continue to grow and invest in yourself.
I love that. That's such a good analogy.
Yeah. So I always say build doors instead of walls. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of the idea, I know you may have heard this from Alex Hormozy, but he talked about the concept of choosing your regret. And that is one of the most powerful pieces of advice I've ever heard from anybody is the idea of choosing your regret. And that means thinking about, the choices that you make each day. You've got so many choices you make every day. Getting out of bed to work out versus sleeping a little longer. Yep. Yes, the extra sleep might feel good short term, but long term, how's that going to affect you? The same idea comes with your business. You can take that extra time, maybe watch an extra Netflix show instead of diving into what your business is going to be. So it's choosing your regret in that moment. Like, yes, choosing regret, like, oh, I'd love to watch another episode of All American, and enjoy that time. But instead of doing that, so the regret you're choosing is not working.
Yeah.
But in the other end, if you're choosing the regret of having to miss out on your show, but you're investing in your business, long term is what the impact is going to be.
I love it. It's all about choices. That's life, right?
Yeah.
And I think the caveat to that is like, if you have big ambitions and goals, then yes, you need to sacrifice the Netflix time. If you don't, there's nothing wrong with enjoying Netflix and doing what you want, but just know there's a trade-off for everything, like you just said. So you have to choose your regret.
It's the idea of the 7 habits of highly effective people. My favorite one is to begin with the end in mind. Mm-hmm. And with that concept, it's thinking about what do you want out of your life? What do you want out of your business? Looking at that end goal and then mapping out the steps to get there. So you almost are working backwards at that point. Like, I want to get to this point in my business. I want to become, just example, I want to build a $500,000 business.
Yep.
Okay, so what does that look like revenue-wise for how much I need to charge per wedding? What are other revenue sources that I can create for my business itself? And then figuring out, okay, what type of steps do I need to take to get there?
Reverse engineer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, your engineering thing, right?
There you go. Yep.
So it's one of the habits that I've always really admired and stick to, because there's all those types of coaches out there or programs that are saying like the get rich quick stuff. And that stuff to me is garbage. Mm-hmm. It's a waste of time because it's short-term excitement, but it doesn't create long-term success.
Yes.
So everything that is built over time took time to create. That was great. So even thinking like, and this is a weird example, but the pyramids in Egypt, they could have built a pyramid out of sand, in a day, and it might not have been as big or as great, but it's a pyramid. Mm-hmm. But because they took time to build over time and they were precise, they were consistent, they were thinking about the end goal of what they wanted to create this, so that way it was powerful and it was intentional and amazing. It turned out to be great, but it took time.
Yeah.
It's the get rich quick stuff. It's appealing because you're like, oh, I'd love to make 6 figures in a year. But if you're focused on just that goal, you're going to fall short and you're going to burn out and you're going to regret that choice.
100%, man. And thankfully, I think there's more and more good coaches and courses and mentors out there than there is like the get rich quick stuff.
Yeah, thankfully.
I think society's starting to change more, and there's more and more great creators, more and more good podcasts and knowledge sources for you to learn.
Yeah.
But that's so true, man. Everything you just said is spot on. So you're actually a coach yourself as well now, helping other people build their photography business. Do you want to talk a little bit about like what aspects of the business you help people with and the things that they should be focusing on?
Yeah. So the type of clients that I am seeking right now are those who are in the beginning stages of their business. So they're trying to figure out where they want to take their business. They're trying to figure out what they need to do next. And so I basically what I do is I like to do an audit of their business. So I ask them a bunch of questions ahead of time before our call, and just to get an idea of where they're at, what they're comfortable with, what they need, advice in, and I analyze that to then determine what we need to focus on in our coaching call to help them move forward, and just to fuel that fire under them to move forward. Encourage them and get them excited about like, you can do this.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the things that we focus on are first, what type of area in the industry do you want to pursue?
Yep.
Is it family photography? Is it weddings, seniors, professional headshots, anything like that? And then from there, it's identifying where they're at in their business. Are they in their first year? Are they just starting off? What type of experience do they have? What type of network do they have? And identifying those pieces to then determine an action plan. So we'll talk about anything from marketing strategy. We'll talk about their CRMs, like Honeybook is the big one that we use for our CRM platform for contracts and invoicing and questionnaires and all that. We'll talk about their business in general. What type of skills do they need to build on for the way they treat their clients and work with their clients. We talk about all facets of business. What type of areas should they outsource? Targeting their genius zone. What areas are, because they are so passionate about business, so it's intertwining their passion with what they're gifted at. So identifying like what they are gifted at so they can hit hard on that, but then identifying, okay, what areas do we need to give to somebody else? So that way then we can grow.
Outsource, yep.
Yep. So it's pretty broad, which is nice because then they can come in knowing like, okay, I'm really good at this, so I don't have to worry about talking about that with Taylor, but I really need growth in this area. And so we map out the steps to success from there.
Love it. And just to hammer home the point, everything you just said, there was not one mention of exposure, ISO, shutter speed. Like, yes, that's important. Like your product is very, very important and you can learn all those skills, but what you're focusing on is the business of photography, marketing, sales, communication, client success, all that stuff, because it is, I would say 90% of growing a successful photography business is that stuff. And then the other 10% is making sure your photos don't look like garbage.
Yeah, you don't want that. And it's true though, because they want the end product. The clients want the end product. They see your work. What they want out of that is quality images that really document who they are. It's plain and simple. But they don't see, and they don't need to see the 90%.
Yeah.
That's not their job. And so I think that's another piece of advice that photographers really need to hone in on, is to not have to talk about how expensive their equipment is, how backed up they are in their editing, what type of business stuff are they doing in the background. It's okay to maybe share on your story, like I'm doing this, this, and this today. Like, people love that stuff. But what they really want to know is how you're going to take care of them. What is the end product going to look like? And in the process of it, how are you going to make them feel? So that way then they're fully aware of what the experience is going to look like. Transparency and honesty in the end product and the whole process itself.
Spot on, man. So in the form I sent you, you filled out, you said you wanted to talk about some of the hard truths of running a business, because you and I both know it's not all sunshine and rainbows, as much as it can look like that on social media. Right. Talk about some of the like vulnerable struggles you've had to go through and what it's really like being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So like you said, social media is a highlight reel for ourselves in our business itself. You want to show the fun stuff. You want to show the exciting stuff. It's also important to not show the hard stuff, the stuff that you're upset about, that you're complaining about. Because, man, that's such a turnoff. It's like, and if you're trying to date somebody, you don't want to do that, But some of the stuff that is really hard that people need to realize is the consistency that you have to push through in order for your business to grow. It is not for the faint of heart.
Yep.
It is not for somebody that just wants to create beautiful pictures. There are so many facets to the business that you have to be consistent in order to see success. You know, you have to be able to post consistently if you want people to see your work. You have to keep up on your bookkeeping. You have to keep up on the day-to-day grind of ensuring that you're communicating with clients. And you have to be fully transparent and honest with how that even looks. There are so many little pieces of your business that you don't really know about until you're in it.
Yep.
And so you have to understand that in the beginning, you are putting hours and hours of work in the front end. And when you're in it, you're still putting hours and hours of work. It's not something where you're like, oh, I've got my business to this place, I could do 10 hours of work a week. That's not how it works. And so what I want people to be aware of is that you also have to consistently grow and educate yourself.
Yep.
Because if you are going to at one point be stagnant in your business, you're eventually going to fall off. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Like, you can't just expect that, like, I can now take these beautiful pictures of a wedding day and I'm confident in where I'm at and I'm going to just stop there. Like, I don't need to learn anything about my camera anymore. I've got a great client experience. If you have that mindset where you are just going to stop, then that's where your business is going to stop.
Yeah. If you're not growing, you're dying. It's that saying. Yep.
Right. You're done watering the plant.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, you have to think of your business as like any type of thing that needs nurturing.
You need
and
to feed
growth.
it. Yep.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, yeah, because you're right. Because anything that you stop feeding will die. Yeah.
Yep.
And there's a reason why we don't have any plants in our house.
Same here, brother. Same here. Yeah.
Like, I see the plant behind you and I'm like,
These
I hope
are
it's fake. But in the realm of business, and one of the hard truths that people aren't aware of is you have to keep feeding yourself. And if you don't, your business will fail. And I know some people are like, no, that's not true. Like, I'm doing great in my business. That's great. I'm happy for you. But if you stop where you're at and you're not able to adjust and adapt and be flexible with where the industry might be going, then you might as well call it quits.
That's
now.
it right there. Being able to adapt is how you survive in any business.
Yep.
And like, if things are great right now, that's great. Like, you make hay while the sun is shining, but you need to consistently be doing actions so that your future self has opportunity down the line. And that's the key to it.
Absolutely. And one of the other pieces of advice I like to give that is almost like a hard truth is that challenges and roadblocks are going to come. It's inevitable. You might be at a point where it's never happened to, but it's going to. Like, you have to understand that some type of roadblock or challenge is going to be coming up. And what I always say that is important in those situations is to see a roadblock and a challenge as an opportunity to grow. And one of the areas that I think that is missed out on is the client experience piece of that. Because there's going to be times where you're going to have clients that you think are going to be the best client. You get on a booking call with them and you're connecting, you're vibing, it looks awesome. You get to after your wedding and they are a disaster. Like, they are
You're like, are these the same people that I
thought? You're like, you guys are liars, you know, like two-faced, you know what? Yeah. But in those situations where they might be challenging for you, is what's really important is to step back, evaluate the situation, and understand what's the best route to take. Because if I let my feelings drive the discussion, or let my feelings drive my decisions, it's going to mitigate the chance of getting that 5-star rating.
Yep.
It's thinking about the opportunities that you're going to take to turn a 1-star review to a 5-star review. Yeah. You know, so and sometimes that's just based on fault of ourselves. But in some situations, unfortunately, you're just going to have to understand you're going to lose. Yeah. You know, it's always the idea of that we don't ever win, you know. And I'm going to give a specific example of a client experience that I had. And They were amazing from start to finish, but this was my fault. And it was one of the hard truths that I had to realize of enduring. So amazing wedding, couple was awesome. Love them, still love them. But at one point, and then I had to switch out my SD cards. And so it was right before like the open dancing was opening up. We did a lot of fun pictures before that. The open dancing was amazing. Like, man, people were hyped. Like, dance floor was just on fire. And we did one of those sparkler send-offs. People love those things. And the pictures were like incredible. I was looking at them, I was showing the bride on the back of my camera. I'm like, look at these. I can't wait to edit these. I get home. I upload all the pictures up to the first SD card. Put my other SD card in. Corrupt.
Oh.
And corrupt. And what the wild part is it was a dual slot. So I'm like, I'm going to go to my other SD card that I just put in as well.
Yeah.
Corrupt. So both backups corrupt. And I'm like, you just feel that pit in your stomach.
Yeah. You're having a heart attack.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. Yeah.
Yep.
yeah. I'm sure
By the way, before you finish that story, I had a guest that recorded a podcast and the entire show didn't get recorded.
No.
So I feel your pain physically. I know what you're talking about here.
We're hoping that doesn't happen today.
Yeah. I got to go check right now to make sure you're recording, but go ahead, continue your story.
So in that situation, I did everything I could before I reached out to them, tried to figure out how do I fix this SD card. I sent it to places. I looked online, tried to download software to fix the corrupt cards. Nothing worked. Unfortunately, those pictures were just gone. So in that moment, I had to make a choice. Do I pretend like something happened? My kid spilled water on it. Somebody stole the SD cards. Try to cover up that it was my fault in a sense. Or do I truly own up to the fact that this was my fault? I take full ownership of this. And I have to just have that conversation. So in that moment, I made the choice to be honest, because you just don't want to regret that feeling long term. It sticks with you.
Yeah.
So I reached out to the couple and I was like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, your wedding was amazing. I had so much fun with you guys. But I need to be honest about something. And so I had a phone call with them just so that they were aware of the situation in full. And I was like, I'm really sorry. From this point on in your wedding, I lost your pictures. I tried to fix them. I did everything that I could. And unfortunately, they're gone. And I feel horrible. And I know that this is going to be really hard to hear. So in that moment, I explained, like, you're going to get your money back for those hours that were obviously destroyed from not being able to show up on the SD cards. And I'm also like, I'm going to give this to you as well, a full wedding album, complimentary. Because what you need to do in those situations is you need to go above and beyond when it's your fault. Because yes, they were fine with getting the money back for the time that they did not have captured. But if I just left it at that, that's cheap. That is showing that you don't fully care about your client. And so when you go above and beyond, it took a 1-star experience in situation to a 5-star rating that they gave me on Google.
Wow.
Because of that and how you respond.
Yeah. That story is a perfect representation, again, of it is about the person you are and the customer service that you have and going above and beyond and owning up to your mistakes and taking that extreme ownership. Because you could have very easily been like, listen, guys, I don't know what happened. I'm sorry. But like you just said, that'll, like, you won't fall asleep at night, like, thinking about, like, I didn't own up to that. So good for you for making that decision. And it just shows, like, people care. And I've heard this from other mentors of mine. It's okay to mess up in business. You're going to mess up. Your clients and your customers care more about the way you handle it and how you fix it and how you own up to it than even making the mistake. And sometimes you can even win them, like, they'll become a bigger fan of yours because of the way you handled a situation. So
absolutely,
that's a gold nugget right there, man.
Yep. It's are you going to have integrity in that moment? Yeah. And because of that, they still refer me to other couples.
Yeah.
If I didn't handle it the way I did, maybe one of their friends was like, hey, I'm looking at your wedding photographer. And she's going to be like, well, he lost my pictures.
Yeah.
But instead of her saying that, she's like, he went above and beyond.
Yeah.
And we had a really great experience with him.
Awesome. Yeah. Shout out to that couple. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
So how important is content and social media to your business specifically?
Yeah, dude. I think for the wedding industry itself, people love to connect with those they're working with. So for me specifically, I love to be able to show my face as much as I can on my social media. Some people hate it when I record videos while I'm driving, which I get, but it's like my time to like show up.
I do the same thing.
Right?
Yeah.
I call it my minivan chats, because I know Luke, he does his van chats with H&L.
Yep.
But I think with social media, if they're able to see your face and they're able to connect with you even before meeting with you, there's already that sense of trust and comfortability with you. If they don't able to see your face at all and they're having a hard time connecting with you, it's already going to put you at a disadvantage. You're already going to go lower in their choice of even if they want to inquire with you. So when I'm showing up on social media, I'm just for my full self. I'm just being myself.
Authentic. Yep.
It's, I think when people like try too hard and record over and over again, it's like you're just wasting all that time.
Yep.
Like the amount of times that I did that in the beginning. Where
I did too. Oh, I'm guilty of it.
Oh
man.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I re-recorded so often. I'm like, man, this is stupid. Like, because people don't want to see, perfection in the way that you show up.
Yep.
They just want to see authenticity.
And I think that's why podcasts are so powerful, because it's so raw and it's just real conversations. Yeah. And my content has exponentially done better doing content like this versus trying to, all right, here's my script, looking right at the camera, trying to be a fucking robot. And like, it's just gotten so much more natural and organic now.
Yeah. People don't want that. It may be a little while back, people valued that where it seemed like it was perfect.
More polished. Yeah.
Yeah. But nowadays, ever since COVID, people missed out on those connections with people.
Oh, yeah.
They missed out on those relationships, and they so desired that when they were able to come back into the world. So now so many people see the value in that, and that's what they want to see when they're trying to find a vendor for their wedding day.
Yes.
And so even with my photos, I have to be intentional about the photos that I post. For me personally, photographers are so drawn to the beautiful portraits of the couple. I love seeing those as well. But for me personally, what I like to post is the images and the reels where people can picture themselves in those moments. I just posted a reel today about father-daughter first look. So if there's a bride that is really close with her dad and she really wants to make sure those pictures are documented on her wedding day intentionally, and she sees that reel, they're more likely to go with me over someone else that has nothing on their portfolio about a father and daughter moment.
Yep.
So I like to post it about, first of all, myself, and second of all, the pictures that people can picture themselves in and feel connected to and truly feel like that is what I want.
Yes.
Because if you're just constantly posting pictures of just two people, when you're a wedding photographer that likes to have big weddings, you're missing out.
Yeah. Yeah. Your content has to be more than just like, those are great and they're beautiful and people love them, but it gets boring, man, if that's all you're posting.
Yeah, it's stagnant. Yeah. And that's why I even posted that one reel where I do those Meta glasses, like they're awesome. They're Meta Ray-Bans.
Oh,
they record video and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I use for my
those
behind the scenes
right?
content. Yeah. And they are fantastic.
I got to get a pair of those.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Like just showing up and, to,
that's sick.
Yeah, they're awesome. But there's a reel that had one of the highest pieces of engagement. And it was literally a video of me taking pictures of an engagement session, and I'm walking backwards on the beach, and I bust my heel on a rock so hard and fall on my ass so hard.
No.
Yeah, dude, it was bad. Like I'll sound like I yell like shit, and then but in that moment I was like, I'm so glad I recorded that because it was so relatable. I had so many photographers say like, oh my gosh, that happens to me all the time. I'm like, well, geez, all the time though. Like it's only once in a while. But and in that moment I was like, I got my camera, I held it up, I was like, this is what I would do with my beer. Like I wouldn't let it fall, It's like the Adam Sandler it's Longest Yard where he's in the car chase. It was those types of relatable reels too that people love.
That's what does the best, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, because people share the shit out of that.
Yeah, people loved it. And like the reel I shared, I thought it was funny was the struggles of being a male wedding photographer. And so many guys like ate that up. They're like, oh, I've always wanted to do something like this, or like I totally relate to you, like, you know, while the girl's getting in her dress, we can't go in there, you know, or, you know, just other things that we're not allowed to say or do. Female photographers can.
Yeah.
But it's stuff like that where it's, my business coach always told me, he's like, your content should be shareable, commentable, and likable.
Yes.
So anything that where people can connect with, they want to share, they want to comment, and they can really feel like they connect with it.
Yes. Relatable stuff. I love it, man. Where was I going to go with that? There was so much good stuff there. The content specifically, like, and I was saying this in another show, like some of the most raw, like iPhone clips that are just like not produced, overproduced or anything, do the best. And like, that's coming from a person who runs a content agency. So like,
so your content,
it's true though. And like, I think there's a place for both, like really polished, nice video.
Absolutely.
And then, just off the cuff kind of iPhone type content as well.
Yep.
But yeah, it all goes back to just being relatable, being a human being, that's what social media is, connecting socially with other people. So with your content, do you, I'd imagine you're attracting, because you have quite a few followers now on your Instagram. Are you getting clients in like different states yet? Are you open to like traveling for different weddings? Have they all been locally so far? What's that look like?
Yeah, I would say mainly target the Rochester, Western New York area.
Okay.
But I'm open to travel.
Yeah.
So if a couple inquires, maybe they're from here or from another state, if it's the right fit, I'm going to Cabo in November, going to Florida next April. So there's opportunities that come up with that.
Yeah.
But because my values are in my family, that I like to ensure that I stick with that.
Yeah.
And because if I was personally traveling all the time, it'd be really hard to stick to what I believed in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So because I really try to target my SEO to the Rochester, New York
so everything's
area.
targeted and locally.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So there was another story that you were telling me about, a redemption story with one of your couples at one of your weddings. Do you want to talk about that story?
Yeah. Yeah. So I first want to just preface that what I think is one of the best things that you can do as an entrepreneur is use your gifts to bless others. And so once in a while, I'll have a couple reach out to me, whether I know them or not. And if it's right, sometimes I just feel like the conviction of, you're going to do this wedding for free for them. And sometimes I'm like, but why? You know, like there's money on the table.
So much
here,
money.
you know, like come on. So it's sometimes hard, but sometimes what's really powerful with the gifts that we have is that we can really bless others and make a difference in others' lives. And with this couple specifically, they both came from challenging marriages. They both had kids, and they both found each other. And what was really powerful about this story specifically, not just them getting married, was a part of their wedding day that had every single person in the crowd in tears.
Wow.
I mean, it was one of the most powerful moments I've ever seen in any wedding that I've photographed. And there's been some incredible moments I've captured and documented. But this specific moment of that wedding hit me to the fact that said, in my mind, you'd made the right choice to bless this couple by taking pictures for them as a gift. And I'm sure you want to know what happened.
Yeah, I do. I'm on the edge of my seat over here.
So, you know, each of them have kids, and they are a really important part of their wedding day. So the wedding took place at the Arbor Loft in Rochester. And during the ceremony, you know, the kids are sitting in the front row. You know, the bride had 2 kids, the groom has 1 kid. And they're both sitting in the front row. The kids are, while the bride and groom is up during the ceremony itself. And the groom stops the ceremony mid-ceremony. And he wanted to take a moment to make a difference in the ceremony itself. So what he does is he stops the ceremony. He looks at the kids, calls his kids up, his kid up and his future wife's kid up. So all 3 kids are up there. And then all of a sudden the groom pulls something out of his jacket. He's got a little gift for each of these kids. And it's a similar gift that they all get to wear. And in that moment, the groom tells all 3 kids, we are one family now.
Wow.
And so they all had these beautiful bracelets that they were able to basically resemble the fact that doesn't matter what's happened in the past, doesn't matter what we endured. We are one family now, and we get to celebrate this day together. And dude, I'm telling you, like, I'm tearing up. Like, I try to hold it in because I'm like, I gotta be professional over here.
Got tears on my camera now.
I can't see through my lens, like fogging up. And but like, I'm looking around, and every single person, there wasn't one phone up during that moment. All I saw was emotion and celebration, because so many of these people knew what these couples went through, what this couple went through, the bride and groom. And it truly was a redemption story, because they fought so hard for their kids and for their protection. And that moment itself was almost just brought everybody in the audience peace of mind, knowing that's never going to happen again, because this groom so deeply cares about his wife and his kids.
Dude, I got goosebumps right now, man.
Yeah, dude, it was just one of those moments that just makes wedding photography so powerful, because you get to be a part of that. You get to be in a front row seat to those moments, and that's what makes this job so incredible.
Man, so you ended up gifting them the photos for free.
Yeah, the whole experience. Wedding. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And in that moment, that's the moment that made me realize I did the right thing.
Yeah.
I listened to my gut and made the right choice to just gift this wedding, because sometimes it's just the right thing to do.
And I'm sure that couple will forever be one of your biggest sources of referrals going forward too.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. And it was just those moments that make you just smile so big.
I love it, man. What a story. So outside of wedding photography business, what do you like to do for fun?
Dude, honestly, a lot of it's just centered around my kids. Like, what's
dad
cool
life.
Yeah, dad life. I've got like my girl dad hat that I love to wear, and my dad shirts, like all about it. I just eat it up. But honestly, a lot of the time that we spend is with our kids, and we built a basketball pickleball court in our backyard.
Oh, cool.
Which is a lot of fun. So like we just spend so much time in our backyard playing pickleball, shooting hoops, swimming in our pool, and we just love having that intentional time where there's no electronics and nothing that's going to distract us, and just to enjoy that intentional time together. We love to go, to trips together. Mm-hmm. But if there are no kids, which sometimes, as fellows, we need our guy time.
Oh yeah.
I really love to play golf. We'll
have to golf together at some point.
Oh yeah, dude.
I'm still pretty bad, but maybe you can teach me some stuff.
Oh, that's generous of you to think that I can. I'm one of those guys that like on 18 holes, if I break 100, I'm like, that's a pretty good day. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Everyone's like, what's your handicap? I'm like, I don't freaking know.
No idea.
Like I know how to figure it out, but I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love playing golf. I love skiing in the wintertime. When we go to the Jersey Shore, one of the things that I love doing is just boogie boarding and playing with my kids at the beach stuff. But yeah, a lot of it is time outside. And even any time that I have a wedding that's maybe a little farther away, either it'll just be my wife and I, or we'll bring the kids. Like
make a little family trip out of it.
Yeah, next week we're going to the Adirondacks. I have a wedding in the Adirondacks, which would be really sweet. Yep. So
and it's all a write-off too.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah. Kids are working, right? So
yeah, right. Little employees.
Yeah. Carrying my bags for me.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, a lot of time is centered around that, and then my wife and I really sometimes we'll just go in the backyard and play pickleball when the kids are in bed, or we just like to go outside and find maybe a new restaurant. Mm-hmm. But we're one of those people who are like, yeah, let's go try something new, and we never do. Mm-hmm. It's because you just get comfortable with what you love. But yeah, just spending that intentional time with my family is really where my center of my value is.
Right on, man. Enjoying the outdoors too. I'm a big outdoors person too, and just moving my body too. Just love to move my body.
Yeah. Oh yeah, working out and stuff is something I love to do. Yeah, mm-hmm. It's a good time. I work out with Luke a lot.
Do you?
Yeah, that's how I actually met him.
He's a strong dude.
Yeah. He's. I admire the fact that he's like in his 40s.
Oh
he's
yeah,
fitter than I am.
Yeah, he texts me. He's like, hey man, you want to go for a leadership walk with me with some weighted vests? And I'm like, not really, but let's go. And we
just that dude.
It was like a 90-degree day too. We're just hiking up Cobb's Hill, and I'm like, what are we doing, Luke? And he's like, just trust me, man. And I felt so good after too. Yeah. So shout out to you, Luke.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. He pushes the limits, but in a good way.
Yeah. Let's wrap up with goals for the future. Where do you see your business going? In the next couple of years, what's your vision for your company and everything?
Yeah. So I would say some of my big goals is to eventually start to lean more toward the education side of my business. You know, I love still capturing weddings. I'm never going to give that up. So I want to continuously do that. But I eventually want to be able to create opportunities for my family to travel with what I want to do with my business, which will be really exciting. So I can't give away too much yet because it hasn't come out yet of what my next big venture is with another photographer friend of mine. So, but we've got a lot of exciting things in the works now.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yes.
Love it. Yeah, no, it's such a good move with education, like focusing on that, because you can scale that nationally with social media and reach so many more people. Whereas, a local wedding photography business can only get so big in a local area, right? And if you want to keep growing and spreading the education to other people, that's got to feel so fulfilling too, and helping other people just achieve what they want to achieve.
Yep. And I would say another big goal of mine is continuously investing in my client experience. What can I do to make it better and better as I grow over time? So that way they feel more and more well taken care of.
Love it, man. Great goals. Any favorite books that have helped you in your personal, professional growth as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I would say a couple of my favorite ones. First one is called Psycho-Cybernetics. Really dives into the psychology of the human brain in a way, and how you work with people in a way.
Cool.
So it's a really unique book.
Haven't heard of that one. I'll have to check it out.
It's a good one. My business coach, Nate Chansky, recommended that one. And then another one would be Story Brand by Donald Miller.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one.
That one's fantastic, and it's really identifying. He talks a lot about with Marvel, and I'm someone actually. People might hate me for this, but I don't really watch Marvel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but he talks more about like the idea that your problem is a villain, and how are you going to defeat the villain in your business? Identifying like what is going to be the problem. What can you do? How do you work toward defeating that problem?
Yeah.
So it's like you're the hero.
Be the hero in your own story.
Or like the solution is the hero.
Yes.
So it really just broke that down and helped me identify like how I can just take care of my clients better, and what problems do they have, what problems might come up in defeating the villain in that. So it's a really, really good book too.
Yeah, those are two good ones, really good ones. I'm always interested in what people are reading. So
oh, dude, all the time. I'm a big Audible guy.
Yeah.
I can't sit.
Yeah. I can't either. I used to sit down and be very diligent about it. Now I'm just going all the time. If I'm in the car, I'll put something on. It's so easy to just listen to stuff now.
Oh yeah, I feel like you can just take it in better sometimes that way. Yeah. If I feel like there's a good thing, I'll just pull out my notes app and take some notes, and so I remember, because could only hold so much information in one day.
And if you're not taking notes and applying it, like, what's the point of reading? You know what I mean?
Yeah, there isn't any. I forgot. I honestly thought there was no point in reading in general because I hate it so much.
Yeah.
But
and then you found all the business and personal growth books, and you're like, this is some cheat codes here.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. It's like a free coach. I mean, it's like, $10 coach.
Seriously.
Right?
Yep.
Like, and then that's where you can see value in it.
Love it. Well, this has been incredible, man. Thank you so much for all the value today. Let's plug, you have a podcast of your own. Let's plug that. What's your podcast called?
Yeah, it's called the Wedding Lens Lounge.
The Wedding Lens Lounge.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. So the idea is that it's just a relaxing place to come. That's the lounge piece. The lens piece is just different perspectives from other people. Because different lenses give you different perspectives. So,
that's cool.
Yeah. So it's just a really cool place. I bring in a lot of different guests that just bring a lot of insight, kind of like what you're doing.
Cool.
So,
is it focused more on photography? Is it just general like business or?
Yeah, more in the wedding industry realm, but there are definitely some pieces that entrepreneurs can take from. Yeah.
All right. Well, if you need a guest, I'd be happy to, I'm kind of in the photography space. So
yeah, man, absolutely. Yeah.
I'd totally be down.
Yeah. I'm definitely putting you on the list.
All right. And if you want to do it in the studio too, I can just give you the file and We can do an in-person interview. I'd assume most of the ones you do are virtual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because most of the people I do it with are busy
states.
themselves in some ways. But yeah, a lot of them are from out of state, which is really cool.
Yeah. And that's what's been cool about this show is like, there's just something, there's a different energy about in-person interviews. And just having like a studio space is like it's super cool, man.
Oh yeah, it really is.
So if you want to use it, boom, we'll throw up your logo right there and
sweet, man.
We'll get it done.
That'd be sick.
Yeah. Anything else you want to plug? Let's plug your website, coaching services, anything you got for the audience.
Yeah, man. So you can find everything on my website, tpiphotography.com. So for my wedding and family services for photography are there. A lot of my coaching information is there. And my Instagram and TikTok and everything, all my social media platforms are just TPI Photography.
Got it.
So,
okay. We'll put those in the show notes and description.
Sweet,
and
man.
Go follow Taylor. He's doing amazing things. So glad to have connected with him. And I was telling him just trying to connect with as many great entrepreneurs in our area as possible. I want to hit that 100 mark by next year.
You got it, man.
Keep those referrals coming. I know you have a connection for me.
I do.
And hopefully the show was valuable to you guys. If it was, please share with a friend, an aspiring entrepreneur, and we'll keep it rolling. So Taylor, thank you again for being here, man.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me. It was a blast.
We'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.